Hi, Sagittarius Sun and Rising. Welcome to your November 2021 Astro Update. It's Raina here. I have the Sun in Sagittarius and I have Mercury in Sagittarius. And for those of you who have Sagittarius Rising, this can be a reading that is relatively helpful in seeing what's going on, but you do need to have your exact degree of Sag rising, because that will tell you where your chart begins. Some of these transits may not fall in the houses that I'm telling you. Of course, I realize that's also true for the Sun and Sag, but I do natal charts, so that kind of thing is crucial when you're looking at timing issues. But, we can still get a feel for what is happening in the general time frame at the end of the year by listening to this. So this is Scorpio season for most of November. Of course, the sun goes into Sag the end of, the third week of the month. And then, even though I'm a later degree Sag, I always love that feeling. And it corresponds with, in the United States, Thanksgiving, which is, what is it? I still can't remember when it is, fourth Thursday of the month. So like 20 in the 20 something date. And Thanksgiving is such a Sag holiday, because it's just so much about gratitude and that kind of thing. I just think of Thanksgiving as a Sag holiday. I don't know. But anyway, I think the celebration of abundance. Now, of course, this is in the form of food, but just that kind of thing, and having that gratitude for that. In contrast, the way that Christmas has become commercialized, it seems perfect for Capricorn, right? But I digress. So, Scorpio is the sign before Sag and therefore the 12th house. And so when the sun goes into Scorpio, there might be a feeling of wanting to cocoon, to be more contemplative, to go within oneself. The 12th house is a place of reflection. It's not a place of party time. It's a place where a person may spend a lot of time alone. And it's interesting when you look at the chart how it progresses, because we have the 11th house, which is all about social stuff, friendships, and the groups that you belong to. And in Libra season, that is what's happening. And then you go into this 12th house and it becomes more, I would say solitary, not isolated, because that's like kind of, it's just like being alone versus being lonely. Those are two different animals. So that is happening, and you may feel this sense of, I don't know, like being quite serious and soul searching. And Sages can be very serious. Sag is always seems to be portrayed as a sign that is very, jovial, because Jove is Jupiter and all that. And that's certainly true as well. But Sages can definitely get ponderous. I don't know, is ponderous good? Well, they can ponder the meaning of life and things like that. And that's why they're part man as well as part animal, human and part animal, because it's the animal part is the one that is wild and free, but not necessarily disciplined and not necessarily serious. the man or human part is the one that is very studious and things like that. So that might be going on for you. And that's great because it gives you a little breather, because then when you make your debut again, when the sun comes into your first house, either because of your birthday or because of the sun, corresponding with your degree of rising sign, it's like your coming out party, and you're feeling more energetic and things like that, because the sun has a very healing and energizing effect on us. So it makes sense. But this is not that time yet. It will be for the early degree, sun and rising, when the sun, if you're like 0 degrees, Sagittarius rising, when the sun goes into that first house on the 21st, you're going to feel like, wow. But a lot of you, it will take a week or two for it to hit your first house, or maybe longer than that. And we have a new moon in this hidden area on the 12th, on the 4th of the month at 12 degrees of Scorpio. And I just want to say something for you Sun and Sag people, because my rising sign is Taurus, a late degree of Taurus. Now, that makes my natal chart way different than what I'm talking about here. And that's why I feel like if you really are into predictions and stuff like that, it would behoove you to either have an astrologer, generate your chart and tell you about your chart and all of that jazz, and then, tell you how to read your chart, or just do it yourself, because there are free chart generators. I like astro.com. And the point being that seeing your rising sign can make all the difference, because it can be totally different than, Sagittarius. And then all these transits are happening in different area. And yes, of course, the solar chart and the natal chart they're both valid, but the natal chart has the advantage because it is the imprint from the cosmic imprint from when you were born, that moment. And so this is your life on this earth. And so the mundane events of this world, I think, really do correspond with that. And sometimes they don't seem like they fit 100%. That's okay. I don't feel that we should be looking at the chart or the transits as the end all be all. And that can get you stuck in those constraints, But yeah, so anyway, so in my natal chart, these are happening in way different areas. Okay, so that's why I want to make clear here. So a new moon in the 12th house can be a time of either like you could be planting seeds for future manifestations on the physical level, looking at it as the womb of creation, that you're going to birth something at a later date. Okay, but if there's something immediate that is new or that you want to take action in, it would probably be around the area of meditation, spiritual practices, or dealing with somebody that provides those services, like a guru or spiritual teacher, something like that. So if there's some kind of a course that you wanted to take or training, that might be the perfect time to enlist, because we've got those retrogrades behind us that were kind of slowing things down. Now, they're going to take time. Jupiter went direct in October, but October 18th, as did Mercury specifically, but Jupiter has a very long transit compared to Mercury, so it's not going to come out of its shadow for a while. But there's you probably will feel that life is moving forward, which is the important thing. Okay, and the very next day we have two transits. Now Venus has been in Sagittarius since October, and now is going to Capricorn. Well, if you're a sun in Sag and you know about your solar chart, you know that this is your second house, Capricorn. So you can feel, so when you hear Capricorn, you might be thinking already like cha-ching from past experiences. It's a little bit confusing for Sagittarius because our birthday is in the Christmas season. And I realize some of you don't celebrate Christmas, but even Hanukkah is in that same time frame. But if you do celebrate these kinds of holidays, and Diwali is actually on the 4th, on the new moon. I think it might always be on the new moon. I don't know. There's something about that when it changes, but that's the lunar calendar. So anyway, you might know, it's kind of confusing because we always get, we probably get gifts at Christmas and our birthdays. So it's hard to like think that that's something to do with astrology. More like holidays and having to be born on a holiday or near a holiday. But yeah, but that could definitely be the case where you see some kind of boost to your income because Venus rules the second house, and when it's in there, that can be very nice, And you might even be feeling good about yourself because the second house is also self-esteem, and this is Venus here. So something is easy about that if you've been struggling lately. And I wonder, maybe that has been a thing because, Pluto was retrograding in Capricorn. So for Sag, that was the second house. Yeah, I didn't think about that. As I'm recording this in October, Pluto has just turned direct. So I don't know if that was, challenging anybody financially, but maybe even with self-esteem issues, Pluto doesn't take any prisoners when dealing with anything. So we have to, I certainly felt it. And I have felt the Jupiter retrograde as I record this. Jupiter has not gone direct yet. So it can feel really challenging and really tough, but this should feel easy now. Okay. Let's put it this way, easier. On the same day, Mercury goes into Scorpio. Mercury in the 12th house, and of course, Scorpio's water. 12th house is water. That's Pisces energy. It could make you more psychic. It could make you more sensitive and imaginative in your creative self-expression as it relates to writing. So if you're a writer, this is a great time to write. You could probably channel pretty well. And, channeling to me can just simply be that you're tapping into something from the infinite source, that it doesn't have to be that you're going into some kind of a formal trance, but like automatic writing. And some of these prolific authors, I think, must have been channeling or, tapping into that because they just would write, seems like 1,000-page novels, and they would do it so regularly, and sometimes even historical novels. So maybe they were tapping into the Akashic records and finding out what happened, and it's just very interesting. So if you're a writer, this is a great transit to take advantage of. In general, if you feel that you're being misunderstood or that you are not communicating as well as you normally do, you can blame it on Mercury in the 12th, which can be very, convoluted and insular inside of your head. And I notice that people who tend to have problems communicating, they tend to be inside their head too much, and they're not thinking about the other person, So, vague anxieties and psychic hits, I think, could have happened at this time. Just, it can be kind of strange. And the point is to channel it in a good way, which means meditation, and that's another good reason to meditate. And this coming the day after the new moon here. So meditation is the answer, because not that it's going to completely stop your thoughts, but it's a great way to gain space between your thoughts so that you're not just totally identifying with everything that you think, Sag is an intellectual sign, so you may enjoy the life of the mind, but that's a double-edged sword, because it's the same thing that can create this idea that you are what you think, that you are your thoughts, which is not true. You are not your thoughts. So anyway, okay, now we're going to talk about the eclipse. So this is happening on the 19th, and it's at 27 degrees of Taurus. I told you I was a late degree. This is happening I'm like 26 something. This is like right there for me. For you, if you're looking at this in your chart, this is going to be in your 6th house of health, okay? And a lunar eclipse can be a really helpful, powerful change agent, I would think, because if you have any habits that you would like to release, I'm not going to say bad habits, I'm just going to say habits that you would like to release that relate to health matters. So a diet that you don't think is working for you, any other kind of habit that you think affects your physical health, this would be a great time to drop it. Because a lot of times people will say, just quit, and it's not that easy. And this can make it easier. You can find it easier to let go when there's a lunar eclipse. It's just a shakeup in this area. Same with a job that you find hard to walk away from. You can feel that it's easier to do so at this time. And there may be something happening cosmically that shakes up this area of your life. Maybe this is shaking up your daily routine for the better. It's always, I saw a bumper sticker yesterday when I was coming home from a bike ride, and it said, it's all good. And, that's a saying that everybody says. But I was like, yeah, it really is. Even if it seems like it's a terrible situation, it's going to lead you to something. It's going to be a catalyst for change. And change for the sake of change is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a long time coming type of change. Because if you have Taurus in your 6th house, you may be the kind of person, even as a mutable sign, Sag, where you are resistant to change when it comes to health matters, when it comes to your work. You may kind of cling to these old beliefs and practices, even if you know intellectually that you need to change. A couple days after this, the sun goes into Sag. Seems to be, right on point, right on time for that to happen. So again, the solar return time. The 24th, Mercury goes into Sag. And this, I think, is pretty important for Sagittarius because we like to share our opinions. Maybe some people say preach our opinions. And we want to do so coming from a place of consistency with our sign, not coming from a muddled place that doesn't really reflect who we are. And we're a fire sign. And if this is your rising sign for Sagittarius, you have that fiery edge yourself. And fire is enthusiastic and it's passionate. And when we speak in a passionate way, we're very convincing to other people. And if you've ever had a conversation with somebody and they were very nonchalant, and it's like kind of the verbal equivalent of a weak handshake, that you don't feel like convinced by that person that whatever it is that they're trying to sell you or to talk about, that it's really lighting their fire, that it's making them feel good about life. And, I think that is important, that we cultivate that kind of passion. Because those of us who are Sagittarians, we're like life coaches, whether we do that for a living or not. We're just encouragers, inspirers of other people. And that can be very helpful when you have Mercury in Sag. Sag is known for being positive. So it just is really at the core of who we are. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this, Sag. And if you would like a personal reading, please click on the link below to find out the different types of readings that I offer. I have a double reading that is chart analysis and transits for a special price called the Deep Dive, and other types of readings. Thanks for listening. Take care. Bye.